What's happening? It's Brad. Listen, this past weekend I was out of town for work and I recorded this episode from my hotel room, and the internet connection in my hotel room was just absolutely terrible. So, you guys will hear in this episode that my audio is also not great. I just want to apologize, and I hope you guys can still enjoy this episode. Appreciate you listening and rocking with us. Love y'all.
Yo, what's happening with what's happening?
Welcome to What's Happening. I'm Brad.
I'm Fred.
It's a show we talk about what's happening. What's happening with you, bro?
Not much, man. Chilling. Pissed off. Team got beat. You know, so that definitely just kind of turned me off for the weekend. But I always said though, we didn't got to buy 2 years in a row taking that number one seed, and we got beat.
Yeah, man. I was feeling for you yesterday when them Titans went down. And this is Sunday night that we are recording this. And we just finished watching, not together because I'm in Michigan and Fred is in Kentucky, but we just finished watching one of the greatest football games ever. The Chiefs versus Bills. That thing was just wire to wire nuts. It's been a great weekend for football. I'm not even that big of a football fan, but man,
For
this
real.
weekend was crazy, man. And I didn't tell you, but somebody sent me a picture of a meme. It's a guy. He had a sign. He's wearing what looks to be a blue colored Bills hoodie. And he's got a sign that says, "I missed my mom's funeral to be here. Go Bills." Dude misses mom's funeral.
I hope that's just a joke. I hope that's just a sign made, bro. Because dude ought to be right there with his mom, I guess, if you ask me. 'Cause that's
Man, listen.
But yeah, nah, that was a crazy good game. But it's almost like leaving it in the hands of Brady Jr. or Brady the Third. Almost can't just leave it in the hands of Patrick Mahomes and OT. Not like that. I mean, but I don't know. But one thing I do want to tell anybody that's listening to this podcast, if you watch these games over this weekend, quit trying to make your son the next LeBron. Quit trying to make them the next Patrick Mahomes. If you want to make your kid anybody, make them a McPherson, a Buckner, any of them type of cats. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gould? Is that what his name is?
yeah,
Gould?
Gould. Yeah, any of them guys. I promise you, that's some gold right there.
Man,
Straight up.
man, a lot of field goals to win the game. A field goal to force overtime in the Chiefs game. Man, it was fun, man, and it's so funny. You talk about get your kids inspired. I'm not a big football fan, but I always get interested around the playoffs. I get interested in pretty much any sports when there's money on the line. When somebody's trying to win a championship, like I don't know, that's just gonna grab my interest. And my oldest son, last weekend he was watching the games with me and he was really getting excited, really getting into it. And it like made me want to like watch it. I'm explaining the game to him, and yeah, man, it's cool because it's so funny. I tried to get him into basketball and he's like, it's cool, whatever. He don't really be feeling it. I try to get him into wrestling. He's like, it's cool. Oh, he don't really be feeling it. You know what I'm saying? So like if he ends up getting into football after all of this, I'll get into football if my kids gonna get into it. And
yeah, most def.
And that's really a decent segue into
you keep trying.
listen, I'm trying.
Try the segues.
Listen, it's all good. But we'll talk about it's a decent segue into what we're going to talk about today, and that is fatherhood. So we've had conversations about communication and divisiveness and vaccines and adulthood preparedness. And, we've a lot of our conversations have circled around fatherhood, being a father, raising a family, learning from the mistakes of our fathers, and trying to learn from our fathers, trying to do things differently from what our fathers did, and trying to do things better, and just trying to get this next generation built up. And we're really going to kind of focus on that and talk about what life is like being fathers. We both got a bunch of kids, and we're gonna talk about what that experience is like. And this is how we raise our kids. This is the fun that we have, the challenges that we have. Me and Fred don't rehearse nothing. We don't know what we're gonna end up saying, but we just gonna say something about being fathers.
I mean, that's all you can do. It at the end of the day is, be there for your kids and try to do right by them. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask for none of this. So it's your job to guide them, try to prepare them for some things that is inevitable, that's gonna happen, some obstacles that's gonna, arise, and you want to make sure that they're prepared to the best of their ability. They'll never be fully prepared. There'll always be some different little changes, or maybe their obstacle come in a different way, than what you may have explained it or try to prepare them for, but they'll have a base to what it is that they need to do or how they need to go about handling it. Thing is about fatherhood, my dad, he always, said a quote. I don't know if it was like covering his ass or if it was just more of the reality to it, but ain't no book on parenting, so that's his line. My thing is, I always say to folks, you only really know how to raise your kids the way you was raised. And you either gonna raise them one or two ways. You're gonna raise them exactly how you was raised, and you're gonna take out the things that you didn't like, how it went, or whatever that rule was when you were being raised. There's things that you liked about your childhood that you felt like that made you and that prepares you, that you want to share and pass along, and there's things that you like we could have did without that. Like, that was just crazy. It might just been the time we were growing up in. You never know. So
let's peel it back. Why don't we talk about, and I'll let you take the lead like I always do. I always make you go first. But let's talk about how we grew up and what our relationships were like with our fathers.
Well, I gotta say, for me, man, it was a roller coaster, to say the least. Uh, I want to say a little on me, a lot on him. But nonetheless, one thing I can say, for my mom always pushed for me to have a relationship with my father, and when I say she pushed for it, like if my father said, "Hey, look, I can't get the time off to, come all the way down there to get him and bring him back here. Can you meet me halfway?" She's like, "No problem." You know what I mean? He wanted to get me for the summer or for a break or something if it matched up with his job. No problem. Go ahead. I want you to have that relationship with your father. I feel like you need that relationship. So my mom was always supportive in that, and I think that was big, into having my father or being able to have a relationship with him. Problem was, our relationship was never good. It was just the fact that we had one. So, I think that is what was big, growing up for me, is that me and my father never seen eye to eye. But I know now, growing up in our day, they didn't expect the kid to understand or know much. So, you pull a little shit like, hey, what you want for your birthday? But you don't send it for X amount of time, or I gotta wait until I come for summer vacation or Christmas break and my birthday's in the fall before I get my gift. But it's like, oh, I had it the whole time, but I was busy. Or when I talk to you, we only talk for 3 minutes at a time, or so it's nothing, never long. You never really deep dive, dig in. It's kind of, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, off the phone. You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, for real, like that's just how it was. You know what I'm saying? That was me and my dad's relationship, and it was crazy because all my older cousins, my stepbrothers, all of them, they're like, man, you got the greatest dad out. Like, he's super cool. You know what I'm saying? You so lucky. And it's like, yeah, but y'all, not for me. I'm his flesh and blood. So it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, now, me and my dad, we super tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're close as all get out. But like, I had to explain some things to him for him to understand, and he had to explain some things to me for me to understand, and we had to show each other some things as well, So, and when I say that, it's like my dad, I wouldn't say really understood how to be a father or a dad, because he really didn't have it. Once I understood his background and how he was raised, because my mom used to always say, like, I can't believe your dad did that. All the times he used to cry, and I swear I ain't never gonna do my kids like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like he followed traits that of way he was raised, because that's all he knew. You know what I mean? So those things carry over, and I was the one to finally say, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be there with mine. We're gonna rock. We're gonna do, you know what I'm saying? And we're gonna be close, because I didn't have that. So I made it my business to make sure, I had that relationship with each one of mine. And they still young, so I got a lot more time to keep building relationships. So, for me to even be at this point thinking like this, I know it's going to be good, because I know what I want. You know what I'm saying? I know what I've manifested. I know what, we do on a daily basis to, keep tight with one another. You know what I mean? Make sure I'm checking on them, asking them questions about their day, and just being involved, taking them to training and workouts. And we go to the gym together, just learning more and more about them each day. So it is, it's a beautiful thing. But I would say, just the relationship with my dad, I would say shaped a lot of how my fathering goes now. But I will also say, I was lucky enough to have two dads. You know what I'm saying? My stepdad is just like a dad. So I get two dads to pick apart and kind of create. And then I had some great uncles growing up. You know what I'm saying? So once you mold all of that into one, and it don't stop there. You got, pillars in the community that you still look up to, that act as, as in father figures in front of you or with their kids that you admire things from as well. So, you know, you're always going to try to be the best that you can be, but it might not always be the best in your eyes. But as long as you're doing for them, and you're trying, I think, that's the best start.
Yeah, man. Interesting that you say that. You've inspired some thought that we're gonna get into later. I don't want to go too off topic, but for me, I am a lot like you. I had two fathers, so my mother and father were married when I was born. They kind of went through some challenges, and they were divorced by the time that I was 4. Um, and what's funny is that I have no recollection of my mother and father ever being together. And for years, I always said, like, I don't see how that relationship ever worked. A lot of people, when their parents are divorced, they're just like, oh man, I wish my parents were still together. I have zero recollection of that.
Not to interrupt you, but that was the same for me. Like my parents probably was divorced. Real quick, everybody know I was born in Germany, so my dad was doing him, and my mom left Germany with me before my dad was, orders was to come back. So like they divorced. I was probably like a year and a half coming back from Germany. So go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't know my parents being together ever.
Yeah, I have no recollection of them being together, and my whole childhood, I'm just like, I don't see how that possibly worked. Like, I believe that God put them together to have me created, and that's it. So they split really early, and my earliest childhood memories are my mom being with my stepfather. And they got married and they were together until my stepfather passed away. I was fortunate, and I've talked about this in a previous episode, but I had multiple father figures. I had a father figure in the house, and then when I left that house to go visit my dad, I had a father figure in my dad. So, I was fortunate, like I said, to have that kind of positive male influence at all times. And so, like you said as well, the community, I think about even church and extended family members. I've had a lot of good men in my life. So, with regards to my biological father, I really kind of struggled with my perception of him. I in my teenage years, I kind of viewed him as being a pushover. It's kind of the best way I could put it. I think I touched on it in the podcast in the past, but my father had kidney failure when I was 2. So there's not a moment in my life that I can think of with my father where he wasn't dependent on like a regular medical regimen, medicine regimen, and watching his diet, or at least attempting to watch his diet and struggling with that kind of stuff. My father was always, I don't know my father at 100%. I don't. I have zero recollection of that. I've never seen that. And he struggled with being able to work due to his, he was disabled essentially for the vast majority of my life. Outside of the first 2 years, he was a disabled man, and so for all of my life, he lived with his mother, my grandmother, and he was disrespected. My grandmother was over the top, with her overreach and the things that she would say and the things that she would do. Some of the other family, it didn't necessarily give him, I don't want to say didn't necessarily, they didn't give him the respect that, he should have been granted. He was never the kind of person to disrespect or insult, he would stay out the way and do his part around the house and do the things that he needed to do. I'd say that I struggle with my image of him as a pushover because it made me, in some respects, it made me not want to respect him, but always respected him as my father. He would say some things and do some things that were less than wise. He would be a little overprotective sometimes. I remember one time some friends came over, and I should say that growing up in Detroit, there was really kind of the back 8 years of my childhood. My mom and my dad lived in the same neighborhood, which was really convenient for my life. When it came time to go visit my dad, I just had to oftentimes just walk around the corner, depending on where we were all living at a given time. So that worked out really well. But I say that, my friends knew where my regular house was, and they knew where my dad's house was. It's, he ain't over here on this street. He must be on this street, right? And I remember the homies came and was like, "Hey, we're gonna go and hoop. You want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, let me ask my dad." And I went out. I went like, "Hey, someone's sitting downstairs. They want me to come to the park with them play basketball. Can I go?" And he was like, "You got to be back at 3." Bro, it was 2:45. He was tripping, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, by the time I get there, I gotta walk back. He was like, "You gotta be back at 3," right? And then as I'm headed to the park, I see my grandmother. She's coming home. She's walking home. She's like, "Where you going?" I was like, "I'm going to the park, but Dad said I gotta be back by 3." She goes, "Nah, that don't make a whole lot of sense. You can come back at 6. Come back for dinner." Thank you, right? And so I say that to say that I realize now that he was just nervous, and when he was nervous about situations, he would make erratic decisions. I realize that now, and I also realize as I'm dealing with my own marriage and my own children and family, that a lot of the times that he was just being what I viewed him as being a pushover. Oftentimes he was just trying to keep the peace, number one, and then number two, he was trying to, at least I believe, he was trying to do what was best for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, he was the kind of person that when faced with a pressurized decision, he would make erratic decisions. So I think in many ways, seeing that from him is why I can have a lot of poise in stressful situations. It takes a lot for me to, shit might hit the fan, but I'm going to be cool. I'm going to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that watching him handle situations like that caused me to be, a rather mild-mannered person in stressful times. So, to how to peel it all back, growing up, from a small child, I just idolized my dad, loved hanging around him. When I got to visit him, it was always fun. My dad was always cracking jokes, always ready for a good time, trying to eat some good food. He would play Mortal Kombat with me, bro, NBA Jam, Super Mario, all that stuff, bro. Uno. I think we talked about that on the game night episode. And then as a teenager, I kind of was disappointed. He's kind of a pushover. And then as an adult, in retrospect, I'm like, nah, he was low key Like he was low key smoother than I realized. He may not have always had it going down, but like you said earlier, there's not a book on parenting, right? You just got to figure it out. And he was trying to figure it out on a part-time basis because I'm his only child. I guess I should say that as well. For my father, I am his only child. It is him. It is me. So, he didn't have like a second child to get like, a redo. He didn't get, he had one teenager. He had, one toddler, your boy. And I think that plays a role in it as well.
Definitely. And that's going to play a big part in who you be and who your kids be. My father essentially had 4, but 3 survived. So
yeah, you touched on that on last week's episode.
Yeah, so I'm his oldest essentially.
Right.
So me and him, of course, we went through hell and back, and then his middle son is wilder than me, so I ain't no better. And then his baby son, he's just gonna have to come on his own, and they're gonna have to work out their differences and find their peace between one another, but one thing I will say, after me and my dad worked through our differences and found our peace, he really, the dopest guy in the world. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm trying to get him to understand more of how to share his dopeness, you know what I mean? Because he really don't understand how to share it, you know what I mean? But
you talked about that before.
He's so multi-talented, it's crazy, So like right now, we grabbing, whips and whatnot, and we're gonna flip them. But it's just kind of dope being able to do that, you know what I'm saying, with my dad. Like, I got a commercial property, and we work on that together, you know what I'm saying, getting it together. And it's just dope being able to learn and pick up from him, and it's just, you can see him light up because all he want to do is be around and be the center of attention, you know what I'm saying, amongst his boys, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, for him, he's a kid in a candy store.
Right.
So and that's the great part about it. Like, and I feel like I see what my cousins and stepbrothers and them that's older than me that seen, this whole time, and it's a beautiful thing, once it finally comes together. But at the same time, I still have to raise mine, and we don't necessarily agree on every way I raise mine, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's crazy because it's like, well, you weren't doing that either, but yet you don't want me to do it, you know what I mean? So it shows that even as you get older and you grow, you realize your own wrong. And you always try to make it right for your grandkids, you know what I mean? So that's another inspiring piece to being, in fatherhood, of being able to help change the legacies that's after you, and trying to instill the right where you felt like you went wrong. So that's I would say, just in a nutshell, explaining our relationships with our family would be, a good part to cap on, and to just go into how that is affecting the way we raise now, and ask you, what are, I would say, the biggest tools that you use today to help raise your kids that your father probably helped instill in you?
So for me, I would say two things that I'm really working on, especially these last, real couple of years. I want to have a stronger relationship with my children than what I had with my father. My dad was always around. If I call him, I answer the phone, right? If I come over to the house, he gonna be there. If I need food, he gonna take care of me. You know what I'm saying? To the best of his ability, he gonna do whatever he can do for his son every time, right? But in terms of and this might get a little emotional, in terms of like a relationship, like really knowing each other, in retrospect, I always feel like that didn't happen. And for those that don't know, and if you haven't picked it up, my father is gone. He's been gone for 4 years now, and it was really telling to realize, like, man, like we knew each other, but we didn't really have a relationship. And it was really telling when I'm his only son and I'm struggling to write an obituary. Like, and I'm pulling it together. And I learned I learned a lot about my dad in his passing. I realized some of that is some of that is him just not being a selfish person, not being a self-promoter, right? One of the things that I love to hear about when my dad passed, I had to grab his phone and I had to call, his friends and let them know, right? And one guy, so peel back the covers a little bit more. My dad and my grandmother, so his mother, they passed 18 days apart. So at my grandmother's funeral, my dad is still living, but at my grandmother's funeral, one of my dad's friends was at the funeral. Now, my dad was actually sick in the hospital at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, he was on his way out. It was a rough 18 days. But so the guy's like, man, I really just wanted to make sure to be here. Your dad was always good to me. I got into some mess, and your dad had my back, right? He said this to me at my grandmother's funeral. So, 8 days later, after the funeral, my dad passes away. I'm calling, this guy to let him know, and he's like, man, like, I'm so sad to hear this. I got to tell you the story. And he's like, I got into some stupid mess. It was like, and I had to go to jail, and I had to spend some time in jail. And, when I went to jail, everybody turned their back on me. My family, all my friends, all that. And then he was like, your father was the only person that didn't turn it back on me, that didn't judge me. Your father was the only one that would call me in jail and that would send me letters to keep me encouraged. And your father helped me make it through, right? So, like to hear that, I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know, like, I don't even know who you are. And, like, you just tell me that, like, my dad is just, like, doing stuff like that. And then, so at the funeral, I had a segment for, like, people to just get up and just say remarks. And, like, the people that got up and said remarks, it was just like, wait, who are you talking about? Right?
Because you didn't see him, in that light.
Right.
You didn't get to see that.
Now, I also have to remember that I didn't get to see him healthy, like, except for when I was a baby. So that makes a difference as well. But the point that I'm making is that, like, I learned that even more so than what I just kind of knew just through my own experience, that, I'm saying, that he was just not a selfish person, that he was, and I think I've said this before on the show, my father was a preacher, and, like, he wasn't getting up and, God said, he wasn't that kind of person, but he was actually, like, living and doing the work. You know what I'm saying? to get back to the question that you asked me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I learned a lot of this stuff in his passing. And the truth is that while I knew him, yeah, I didn't really know him. And something that you said earlier, with you were saying how, like, you know, birthday gifts, whatever, blah blah blah, was sweet that your dad had them, right? You know, I think we grew up in an era where um, our fathers, our male figures, you know, they were expected to provide, right?
Definitely.
And I think about, like, you know, what the perception was with deadbeat dads and blah blah blah. And listen, if you were a man and you were if you were in the home taking care of your kids, you had a job and you were at the house, that's all it took. You're A+, right? And if maybe you weren't in the house, maybe there was a divorce or something, but you paid your child support, you got to B. Like, the standards were so low in terms of what was expected of a father. The mother was always expected to be nurturer, the caregiver, the understander, the disciplinarian, all of that. The father was, he go out, he pay the bills, he come home and he eat dinner. Like, that's like kind of what the perception was. You know what I'm saying?
It,
Go ahead.
I mean, you got to think on it too, and this could be a whole nother episode, but you got to think how much time the father is usually out trying to make the money that's needed to come
Yep.
back.
Yep.
You know, or the time that, you know, just the shift that you have sometime takes you away, you know, from your family, so that way you can only be a provider. And that's the messed up part about it. And even, you know, sometimes just it might be just a position. It might not even have to do with the time you work, but the position that you're in may call for you to be away. Because I can only imagine when we worked, you know, back in Ohio together, and the amount of time I was doing then, you know, once I got my store to a full store, and how long I went without employees before a pandemic. I mean, I can only imagine if I had an actual, you know, huge family that I got now,
Yeah.
the toll it would take on it, you know, because
Absolutely.
of that, you know, and the toll it takes on you. I mean, when I moved here to Kentucky, I worked for a company. I was a general manager again, and I stepped down to be an assistant because it got to the point, I'll never forget, my one daughter um had asked her mom, like, um, is dad gone? Like,
Mm.
is he not? And she was like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Mark's confused as hell. Like, what? How? I don't get what you're getting at. Like, because I'm there every day, every night. You know what I mean? So she's like, well, I ain't seen him in, like, I don't know, a couple
Mm.
months. And basically, what was happening was I would wake up and go to work before they wake up and go to school.
You was getting home.
And by the time I got off of work and got home, they were already in bed for school.
Mm-hmm.
So they realistically didn't see me unless it was on the weekend, where, you know, like, eventually once my one daughter started playing basketball, and I was like, I'm going to be at the games. Like, I don't care what's going on. I'll schedule around it. I mean, I'm the GM. I make the schedule. I can
Right.
schedule me as long as I got my hours in. But the problem would be that, you know, somebody call off or
Like,
whatever, the
all off.
inevitable
Yep.
happen. So, you know, all those inevitable things that you can't control happens, then it puts you away. Well, then at the time, you know, my other daughter, she was, I think, 3. And I literally was getting home probably 6:30 at night. And literally I would take one shoe off and my phone ring. hey, so and so didn't come in. Store policy is we can't close with only one person. I don't mind doing it. I just don't want nobody to get in trouble. I'm just calling you, see what you want me to do. I'm on my way back in. So now I go back to work till 11 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I get home till 11:30 just to help close the store. Or, eventually I just be like, you know what? Work, I'll be there at like 10:15. You know what I mean? Just to help literally close. We up out of there.
Yeah.
Because it was getting, ridiculous. So those things, is not taken into account when people look at it and say, oh, well, they just got to work and come home. But most men that was in the home and working and paying bills would love to have been able to do more or be out more. But when you working 12-hour shifts across midday or, from, middle of the day to midnight, you're going to sleep most of the day away, even so.
And you know what? I'm gonna add to that though, is that I think that that's probably it's relative to their background, their upbringing, their education, and ultimately their access. Because what we're talking about is working, retail level jobs that work you like a bone, right? Work you like a dog. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, when you grow up in communities unlike the communities that we grew up in, and you have better access to better schools, smaller classrooms, things of that nature, better education that prepares you for the next level. That's how you end up getting your college scholarships, your internships, and things of that nature. And then you put yourself on the path to where maybe you're not working that retail job that has that ridiculous level of demand. Maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you're a lawyer, maybe you're you work a job that says like, hey, I'm off work at 5 and I'm at the dinner table by 6 every day, right? And able to establish those type of relationships with your kids between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. and then have a little time with your wife between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. The TV family style lifestyle, right? I think
Right.
that, again, that was kind of just the inequalities of society that we have play a role into building that. And then so like, we idolize that. Man, my dad worked day and night to provide. And so like I just need to go ahead and do the same thing. And then you try and do the same thing. And then you're not building a great relationship with your kids. And then it goes on to the next generation. It's the cycles that we've discussed before. And to finally answer your question, I knew my dad, but I didn't know my dad. I want to make sure that my kids know who I am, know what I'm interested in, know about me, right? I want them to be able to say, this is who my dad is. This is the type of person my dad is, right? So, I'm really working to my challenge, and maybe not challenge is the word, but thing that I'm working on is having individual relationships with each child. I think that I try to do, I've got kids, right? So I've got 4 kids. 3 of my kids live in the house with me. My oldest, my 12-year-old daughter, she lives with her mother. She has a separate mother. And it was, the kids are together, they're the kids, right? And I have the kids. Or like I'd be pushing the kids away to let them deal with each other and let me relax for a little bit, right? So didn't really have individual relationships with each individual child, but it's like, yeah, dad's around, right? And then when the oldest would come over, it's okay, I've got all of my kids here, right? And it's still kind of like us all together. And so like for the last, really 2 years, I'm really just consciously focused on trying to have individual one-on-one relationships with each child. And I would say that for my oldest boy and for my youngest daughter, absolutely got that going on. My youngest daughter, that is my baby. If you see me on social media, If you see me anywhere, she's always with me, always up under me. That little girl is a daddy's girl. She is that's my girl, right? And then
Right.
my oldest son, that's a mini me. He is literally me in the form of an 8-year-old, in the form of a light-skinned 8-year-old. That is who that boy is. Now the other two, my oldest daughter and my youngest son. So my oldest daughter, we have a good relationship, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I would say that my relationship with my oldest daughter is more so, it's more closer to um, what my relationship was like with my father. Like, she doesn't know me in the way that I would like for her to know me. Um, and then with my youngest son, he is just, he don't like me. No, I'm just playing. But he don't really like, there's sometimes where he just like wants to like kick it with me and tell me no, he don't be one to necessarily kick it with me like one on one. Like he likes to kick it with me one on one every now and then. I'll be like, hey, like, you want to go to the store with me? He'll be like, yeah, we can do that. But that's more so just because he likes to go to the store because we in a
Right.
pandemic. You know what I'm saying? But like, he don't really be checking for me like that. Now, like, and I should say, like, I've got good relationships with all the children, but in terms of having like strong individual one-on-one relationships is really just with my oldest boy and my youngest girl, and with the other two, I'm working on it, right? I'm working hard on it. And the youngest, the oldest overall, the oldest girl, um, that one is the one that is a particular struggle. So, without going in detail and without any intent for disrespect towards the other party, but I was married to her mother for a very, very brief period. We split up, but when we split up, the way the situation worked out was she was here in Michigan. I went back to get a job in Ohio, and Daddy wasn't around, right? So closer to what your relationship was like with your father. Daddy wasn't around. Daddy popped up for Christmas. Daddy popped up for the birthday, and then Daddy would pop up, randomly. But
Mm-hmm.
um, overall, Daddy wasn't around, and the first I didn't move back to Michigan until she was 7. Really, 7.5. So she's 12 now. I've still, to put that in perspective, um, I've spent more time away and out of her presence than I have spent, actually around her. And that wasn't a goal by any means. It's certainly not, a point of pride. It's just kind of the way that life carried me. And I'll tell you a story. So, y'all know I mentioned it a few weeks ago. I just moved. Just moved, and Christmas Eve, I was going to grab my oldest daughter to bring her to the house. We were going to do presents and dinner on Christmas Eve night, and while we're driving, I say to my daughter, just so you know, this is more than likely going to be your last time coming into this house because we're getting ready to move. And bro, I see her heart. You can literally just like see her heart just crumble. Like, my dad is leaving, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, most of her life, I
Been
was in a
gone.
whole nother state. I was
Mm-hmm.
hours away. I wasn't right around the corner. And I could just see them like, no, 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 no. Like, we're not going anywhere far. And at this point, I didn't have a new house set yet. But I was like, we're not
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere far. We're going to be in the area. Like, I'm still going, nothing crazy is happening. Like, we're just moving into the house. And then, like, you just see like the relief. And I share that story because, I don't necessarily love living in Michigan per se. Yeah, I have no issues with it. Now, first off, I'm not going anywhere because this is where my job is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking to go anywhere. But the primary reason I'm not looking to go anywhere is because of my oldest daughter. Like, I spent the first 7 years not being around her on a regular basis, and I'm not about to let that happen again, right? And another story time. So we moved to Michigan in early 2017, and in 2017 is when the baby was born, right? So 2017, she comes over to meet her new baby sister, and she's just at the house. And also at this time, I'm working. I'm working at my previous employer, and I was up for a promotion at the same time. This promotion, now mind you, like, I had just gotten promoted, which is what brought me to Michigan in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm up for promotion again, and if I get this job, this promotion is going to take me down back into Ohio, and actually a little further away from her. It was going to take me into the Columbus, Ohio area. I didn't get the job, and the truth is that I wasn't qualified for it. I just got the interview and was considered because I was killing it at that point. I was just doing amazing things. Not to brag, just saying that it is what it is, right? But I wasn't qualified yet for that position at that time anyway. So I shouldn't have got it, but I almost did get it anyway. But I never told my oldest daughter about this. And in fact, unless she listens to this podcast,
she'll never know.
She'll never know. I never told her that I almost had that job, right? And I didn't get the job, and she's over, and she's holding her new baby sister, and she said, I'm glad you guys are close now, and I would be really sad if you ever left. And it was just like, wow.
Can't never go nowhere now.
And like,
not until she grown, at least.
Man, at bare minimum, bro. And so, I'm saying all that to say is, like, I find a high level of, I'm highly aware about trying to have individual relationships with the kids, trying to, do as much with them as possible, and making sure that they know, absolutely who their father is. So what about you with your relationships and your clan?
Well, I'd say we all got, a different relationship, I mean, it's kind of weird, like, because my second oldest daughter, she started this thing when she was little, and she was like, it's my daddy. No, that's my daddy. And it's actually carried down between, what I'm saying, all the kids after that. I don't know if it'll do it with my youngest son, but my girls be on it. And so, now my two baby daughters are like, no, it's my daddy. So, like, they're all getting like a little tug of war match. It's my daddy, it's my daddy. And it's just all fun and games, you know what I'm saying? It's nothing harmless or painful. But, my oldest daughter, we connect on the basketball level. My son, me and him have a different understanding, because on an individual level, like, not to toot my own horn, but I made him a powerhouse, and when I say that, he's 17 now, but even when he was 13, he could cook, he could clean, he was learning how to take care of yard work, stuff outside the house. At 15, he was changing oil, doing tune-ups, 16, changing brakes, running electric in houses, running PEX, plumbing, so he's had a chance to become more well-rounded than the average 17-year-old boy. And a lot of it he hates me for, you know what I mean? Because it's like any young teenage boy, there's 10,000 things I could be doing instead of doing this here. But he appreciates it because it comes down to times where he overhear conversations of his mom friends. I'm like, oh, I got to get my brakes done, or I need an oil change. Now he can step in. Hey, if you buy the stuff, you know what I'm saying, for $20, I'll change your oil. You know, I'll do $20 front tires, $30 back tires. You know, if you got all disc brakes, and they looking at him like, huh? You're like, yeah, I got you. You know what I mean? Like he can troubleshoot issues and do different things. So a lot of times, even like his best friend mom or something will call, hey, you care if I use Jay real quick? I'll pay him if I got to, but I need this done. And you know, my son, he ain't, he ain't there. He ain't, and it's like really, but he don't mind. He'll go right over there, jump right in. I got you, help you out. And it's you know, like I said, me and his relationship is just different because a lot of the stuff that, he didn't want to do, he sees the value in it now. And one thing with my kids is I shoot it straight, you know what I'm saying, with them. So I'll tell them, the do's and the don'ts, or why and why not. Or, I'll let you bump your head and feel it real quick just so you know next time, okay, I can't do that. I can't afford that, because sometimes I don't care what I say till I'm blue in the face, you still gonna do it. So why I'm going, overwork myself trying to stop you, just go ahead. It ain't gonna kill him. Let him learn. And some of those lessons, there's nothing like life lessons to teach you. So some of those lessons that he learns early, I don't have to worry about later on, in certain situations. You can't say you just, oh, your son was doing this. Nah, I know my son. That's not him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's certain things and situations that, because of the bond and relationship we built, I know him, so, but I feel like with each one of them, my middle daughter, I found out something about her that I didn't know. Before the pandemic hit, I used to smoke cigarettes. And when I was smoking cigarettes, I was like, man, I'm about to get these things up. I can't do it. But I told my lady, I said, listen, if I give up these cigarettes, I got to go to the gym. Because I know me, I use these cigarettes to suppress my appetite. So if I give them up, I'm gonna be it's gonna go down in the kitchen. You understand me? Like it's gonna get real ugly.
You're gonna be in there looking like Brad.
Hey, so I was like, I can't, just when I went on workers' comp, bro, I hit 176.
Man, shut up.
Nah, but listen, we don't have the same frame, you know what I'm saying? So like 176 for me, I could feel that. You know what I'm saying? Those come with deep breaths and sluggish movement. And I'm like, wait a minute, this don't feel natural at all. Like, you know what I mean? I bend over and come back up and be like, hold on. Listen, it's a big one. Like, hey, for real. So, but I'd be like, I gotta trim it down. So I got in the gym. I'm working out, and my daughter, she like 6. I'm doing push-ups. She's like, I want to do push-ups with you. I'm like, all right, here we go with this, bro. She hopped down. She's doing push-ups. I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna get a deck of cards and we'll just flip cards. Every time we flip one, we just press them out. And I don't think she's seen it. I don't know if it was just the interaction between us, but she was on it. And I mean, she's hitting them. You know what I mean? Like it was to the point she could hit a 20-piece no problem, and she's 6, like just
right,
a natural 20-piece on push-ups. And I'm like, and her older sister get down there and struggle on a 10. And she was really into it, you know what I mean? So it helps me learn, you know what I'm saying, different things that they like and don't like,
Yeah.
Her older sister, she's not a basketball player. It's just that's not what she's really not a sports player. She wants to be a girly girl. She wants to do cheerleading, but she has no real athleticism. So, that's just who she is though. It ain't no different. Ain't no love lost or nothing. Like I don't try to make them match up with one another either. I
Right.
tell them, be your own person. Don't follow this one. Don't do this one because this is what that one's doing. I want each one of y'all to be great, but be different. Be yourself.
Right.
You don't have to fit in with a crowd. It's okay to be different. And so that's the other thing that I think helps with building that relationship. Like, you know, when my oldest son and daughter, when they first started getting into sports, I asked them flat out, I said, hey, do y'all want to do this, like for real? You trying to like next level this thing, or is we just out here kicking it with the homies and, just happy to be out here?
Right.
My son, like, I'm kicking it. You know what I'm saying? No questions asked. You ain't got to worry. I'm just out here with my dogs and them. My daughter's like, no, I wanna, play and go to the next level. I want to do whatever I can to get better, each and every day. So I hold them to two different levels with it. But in the same token, if my son come home and say his team had a bad game and he upset by the results or playing time or anything, I just look at him, whoa, where this coming from? You out there kicking it with the homies, G.
Right.
Enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? So, but if my daughter come home like, man, this some bull. Like all I can do is say, hey, you want to get in the lab? You know what I'm saying? You want to take that frustration out, get up an extra 100 shots tonight, extra 500 shots. What you trying to do? Because they had different mind states on what they wanted to do.
Right.
And that's what I try to do for each one of them. Like when you say build a relationship one-on-one, I try to take each one of them side and do what it is that they enjoy. I don't want to make one enjoy something else because this one's good at it or that one, enjoys it. And so I try to build that one-on-one relationship with them, and we all got our own, inside jokes. Or if I pick one up for school, we might slide by the stove, get a snack. Hey, they know the routine. You got to be gone before you get home, or it ain't no more. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like we won't do it again. So that's just a little fun. But I do it with all of them. You know what I mean? But it's like it's that moment of knowing, like, I was kicking it with dad. We got some ice cream. I'm
Yep.
like, no, I'm back up in this joint, just kicking it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's fun. Like, and then in my house with having so many, man, we say it all the time. We should just put cameras up and call it Raising the Seven. We have views, bro. I mean, like, cause it's always something. It's comedy 24/7. Like these kids just keep you going. You know what I mean? So I love it. Like I can't see how some people don't want to be a part of it or don't want to enjoy it. Like it's a beautiful thing to be honest.
Right.
So
So that's funny. I was going to ask you, what's that relationship like? Trying to, like I said, I'm working on getting strong individual relationships with 4. How do you do it with 7?
because I don't force it, you know what I mean? I take every opportunity, you know what I mean? So all right, my one daughter in band, she pull up in the garage and say, Dad, you want to hear me play? Yep, sure do. Pull
Yep.
up.
Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? So that's that one-on-one. And truthfully, one of her sisters might be in here. But if we just in here watching TV, something non-productive, I don't want to hear that with her. Go in there. She doing something productive right now. We ain't
Right.
doing nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta take that opportunity. You know, You know, my one daughter come to me, hey, can we get to the gym tonight? All right, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I'm tired, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. Because you don't know the opportunity. Sometimes it's like, all right, look, it was a rough one today. I ain't gonna be able to do it, G. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I changed 4 tires, transported 3 trailers. It ain't in me. I'm beat. I'm old. You know what I mean? But they and they understand. They be like, all right, cool. But at
It's
the
a bunch
same
of us in
time,
here. We got it.
yeah. But at the same time, I'd be like, but go outside in the shop, get the heavy ball, and do your stationary drills. You know what I mean? You could do something. We ain't gotta go to the gym, so don't play.
Right.
Is you really trying to get it or not? You know, um, Rena, you cut the house. She's, hey, can I ride? Can I go? You know what I mean? So sometimes like, hey, come on, let's go.
Right.
Or she get up before most of them. So, hey, go get your stuff on. We about. You know what I'm saying? It's Saturday morning. It's 8:30. Everybody else want to sleep till 11. We get breakfast on the road. Let's go, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how you do it. And then, you know, with the younger ones, they 3, 2, and 1, about to be 1. Or 4, 3, and about to be 1. I don't really have to put as much in on the individual relationship side because they younger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it sounds crazy. You're like, oh, when they're younger, that's what the best times for them to remember. But truthfully, they're not gonna be able to say, you wasn't there when I was 3, when I wasn't there. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? My 17-year-old can say, but you ain't pull up to none of my games though. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you gotta balance that. And that's one thing. I told my lady early on because she used to be so mad with the way I work. You know what I mean? When I first met my lady, I told her, listen, we're gonna be cool. You take care of your kids, I'm gonna take care of you. Anything extra, I got them. But if you stop me from working, you lose me. I mean, don't try to afford me. Don't try to, oh well, we'll be straight. No, I likes to make my money. Like I'm not gonna stop.
Right.
It just is what it is. That's just who I am. That's who my daddy is. Don't get in between me and my check, and we good.
Yeah.
So she used to hate it because I worked so much. She like, but what about the kids? I'm like, they don't remember it now. They gonna want me later though when they older. They might say, oh, well, we miss him. We don't see him. They not gonna remember that. But when they 13, 14, 15, you know what I'm saying, 16, 17, needing advice, you know what I'm saying, wanting you to go to away games and home games, whether they playing 24 minutes or they playing, you know what I'm saying, 3 minutes.
Right.
It don't matter, you know what I'm saying? So and that's what I told her. I got to get it now so that I can sit back then and be able to watch them. You know what I'm saying? Be able to be there for their highlights and they, you know what I'm saying, accolades and, you know what I'm saying, acknowledgments and anything else they do.
Right.
But if I don't go hard early, I ain't gonna be able to be there. I'm still be going hard when, you know what I'm saying, time comes. So, you know, that was the other part to it, is that I truly look at it as only really gotta build and maintain 4 right now. Now, if we had this conversation in 3 more years, 4 more years, I'm still gonna be kind of in the same boat. It might be 5-ish,
Right.
but I'm gonna have 2 or 3 already about the house. So you know what I mean? Like with them, it's more just a phone call, checking in with one another. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? If they need something or something, Hey, I'm short on the bill, big homie. What's up? You know what I mean? Like that, and that's real. And I'm gonna let them sweat a little bit, but I got them before the due date. But they're gonna have to figure it out.
Come cut this grass or something.
No, I ain't even saying that. But if you say it's 180 and you only got 40 right now, and it's due on, what I'm saying, the 15th, and today the 24th. When you call me back on the 23rd, you better not still have 40.
Right.
What you been doing? Well, my mama got a famous line for that too. You ain't gonna pimp me. Hey, the lights on here, refrigerator always open and welcoming. Your room still there. Come on home till you get that figured out.
Right.
But if you call me and say, "Hey, look, big dog, I had 40, I got 120, I need 60 though. I got you. Here he is."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just
I
I
stand
can't.
in the gap.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I can't just give it away though, because once you start doing that, then they start relying on you. You know what I mean? They depend on that, and then they feel like they can do whatever with theirs.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I try to, if you can't tell my son, I try to teach, what I'm saying, legacy building and, financial freedom and different ways to create, income for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just do it with my son. I do it with, my daughter too. That's another thing with having older kids is I try to be even, but at the same time, treat them accordingly, if that makes sense.
Make it make sense.
So, um, you know, my son, like, he like, what was this, year ago, maybe 2 years ago, one of his sister's birthdays, and he had this little chick he talking to, and he like, "Hey, you care if she come to the birthday party? Can we pick her up?" No, I don't care. But at the same time, if, what I'm saying, my daughter like, "Hey, you know what I'm saying? I don't care." You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Now, don't get me wrong, they're not the same age, but in the same token, like my one daughter, we could kind of tell, but I think I said this on the podcast before, I don't never put nobody in a box until they decide to box themselves. You know what I'm saying? So she like, "Hey, I'm gay." Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna make no fuss about it. No, what I'm supposed to care? Can my girlfriend come to the? I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't try to make it harder for, sometimes because you got girls, you like, my boy can stay out to 3 a.m., but my daughter's got to be home by midnight. That ain't right.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I try to keep it fair in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Where because of your gender, the rules are different. Nah, that's not. You know what I'm saying? To me, that ain't how it's gonna go. I'm gonna treat you based off your maturity and your responsibility level on how much I can trust you in a situation. Are you prepared? You know what I'm saying, to handle that situation, being out there by yourself. That's what I'm going off of.
Mm.
So if you take the trash out and I gotta remind you to put the trash bag in, then I might not be able to let you go out and trust that you're gonna remember to make it back in by a certain time. You know what I mean? Like,
I respect it.
you know what I mean? Like, that's my take on it. So like, I've told like my one daughter, she's like, she want a cell phone, but your grades is piss poor. You know what I'm saying? I gotta finagle and work with you and do. I ain't had to do that with your brother. That's why he got a phone. What's gonna happen is your sister under you gonna have a phone before you have a phone. Because if they handling business like they supposed to with grades and chores and doing what they supposed to around the house,
Mm-hmm.
then their maturity and responsibility level says that they can have that.
Right.
And that's what I say. Like I make it fair across the board. It's where you're at here. You know what I'm saying? More so than anything. And that's also how, you know, I approach them in situations too. Like with my son, I'm not gonna come talking to him like I talk to the girls. I'm gonna talk to him like he basically 18. Hey G, you grown. If I say certain things, I shouldn't have to say, hey, did you do A, B, C, D, and E? If I make a general do this, it should come with all that because you old enough to know.
Right.
So my girls, I might have to walk them through. So, you know, that's I think how, like I said, I just take the opportunities, whatever arise, and I, you know what I'm saying, coach from those opportunities, or, you know what I'm saying, we relax and chill and enjoy one another in those opportunities.
That's dope. That's dope. That's a bar, man. You dropped a lot of bars there for sure. Yeah, I would say for me, yeah, I'm fortunate. I don't have a teenager yet. You know, my oldest daughter, she'll be 13 this year. But you know, one thing that I'm intentional about, especially now, we talk about our awakening and being able and understanding how to like what we need to do to make money and all of that stuff, right? One thing I'm super intentional about now is I just have little subtle conversations with the kids, even with the baby. I call her baby, but she's the baby of the family, but she's 4. But even with the baby, it's what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. Right? You know what I'm saying? And I don't expect her to give me an answer, but like, you know, it's time to start like cultivating those like in particular for the oldest one, start cultivating those conversations, start saying, what's the plan? What's the backup plan? How we getting there? What's the right position to make it plain?
So I'm glad you said that because back when we was in Sandusky, you know, I started that with my oldest now. And the first thing I asked him, I was like, what you want to do when you grow up? And I think at the time he was like 7. It was like he wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to be in the military. And I was like, okay, that's pretty dope. So I asked him, I was like, well, what kind of car you want? And he was like, I don't know. One like this. And I was like, what? Now, mind you, I'm in a 98 Lincoln, you know what I'm saying, town car, Cartier series. So I was like, you want something like this? You can have any car in America. And you think, so I told him, I said, hey, you got to think bigger, bro. You know what I'm saying? At all times, whether it's with a job, car, house, think big. Don't just think like something basic like this. He was like, huh? I'm like, man, you know, it's cars that'll put this car to shame, whether it's like luxury look, style, speed. There's cars that cost like 50 times what this car costs. Like, really? I'm like, yeah. So it really started making him think, like looking up little things, and next thing you know, he understood. He was like, okay, you know what I mean? And things was making sense. But I told him then, I said, listen, I'm gonna ask you this probably 100 to 1,000 times before you get 18. And it will constantly change. I said it will change the most once you get to about 16 to 18 because you're really going to be scrambling in to try to figure out what you want to be. But the idea is to start thinking early, like you said, to start cultivating that mind to think early. So my 8-year-old now, when she graduated, I think it was like preschool or whatever it was, they ask you what you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time, she wanted to be she wanted to be like a manager of McDonald's or something because, she wanted the chicken nuggets and French fries. Every little kid, they're just and her brothers and sisters was laughing like, really, really, you just want McDonald's? And she's she was 4 at the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what you expect a 4-year-old to say what they want to be? It's gonna be like police officer, firefighter. If your folks is like a lawyer or something, maybe that, but a doctor, or it's gonna
Right.
be something like fast food that they like, toy wise or whatever. So,
Yep.
and that's and I was like, y'all laughing, but it'll change more. And just recently, you know, she's like she want to be a doctor, you know. So and like I said, it'll change more, but to cultivate that mind and idea, for my son, I told him, I said, listen, because once they get to middle school, I kind of take a different approach, and I tell them about trade school, I tell them about college, their own business, corporate America. You know what I mean? There's more than one option, and there's different ways you can go. If you sick and tired of school and just like, I can't take this shit no more, want to go corporate America? Have at it.
Right.
Want to work for yourself? Try it out. Because the one thing about working for yourself is you can always go back to corporate America. If it don't work out, you can always go back to corporate America. It's there. It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you said you gave it a shot, went for your dreams. So, and those are different things that I've showed my kids is how to do their own business, how to work trade. My daughters, like I told them, they're going to know how to change tires. They're going to know how to change oil. They'll know how to do a tune up. It's not going to be gender specific in my house.
Right.
It's the same for my son, but they'll know how to run electric, plumbing, But like I told my son, I said, how many people to get the inside look in a trade before they get out of high school to know if it's something they might be interested in or not? I said, most people have to get into the field and then be like, this ain't for me. I'm cool. I'm going to go to something else.
Right.
I said, you got a decent look into the field. From running PCVP to running pecs, being in crawl spaces in mud, running electric from the box down to the receptor, over to the receptor, to the light switch, up to the light, ceiling fans and what have you, the whole nine. I'm like, most kids don't get that opportunity to be like, man, hey, I'm cool on that plumbing, but that electrician, that might be cool, or
Right.
I like working on cars, so, that might be my thing. Or like right now, I got some vending machines. So his job, because he plays sports and go to school and we, worry about grades and whatnot, he go empty vending machines and refill them. And that's how he make his couple of dollars. Because it ain't like he need a lot of, they really need something. They'll come to it. We, make sure they're straight. So
Right.
it's like, he good. Get him a couple of dollars, in case his friends or something say you want to go to the movie or whatever. He got some pocket change.
Right.
And so you know how to, kind of operate as in your own business. We do the t-shirts and stuff. So he's seen that as far as internet sales and what have you. So they all get that hands-on experience. And that's gonna go all the way down. The businesses might change and become better or whatnot, but all the way down, each kid will learn and get an insight into those different things to know what they want to be, as we're cultivating that idea and that mindset. Like, Gerard want to do epoxy flooring. That's a huge business.
What is that? Epoxy flooring? I never heard of that.
Epoxy flooring, yeah, you could do it with flooring, countertops. You can rebuild
Oh,
showers
okay.
that way, but it's basically just taking a board and you paint it, and then you pour epoxy over it, and you can make different type of epoxy mixtures and whatnot. And when it's done and it settles, it almost looks like a showroom floor, or granite countertops, or like $1 million, marble white floor, like you walking through somebody's mansion. So it's a very lucrative business though.
That's dope.
So but yeah, there's just a lot of different things and different ways to go about helping cultivate that mindset and that thought pattern of what they want to do versus just asking them, but helping show them or get them some hands-on insight to what it is they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. Man, I think that I often talk about the awakening of society, right? I think I talked about that on last week's episode. How I think we're realizing that we were told, we grew up on the system. You get good grades, you can go to college. You go to college for 4 years. As soon as you graduate after 4 years, you're gonna have a litany of job offers just waiting on you. And then after that, and then after that, you can work the job into your early to mid 60s, and you'll be able to pay off your house and have a family, and then just you'll be able to just be cool until you die, right?
I ain't gonna lie, that sound like some boring ass shit you just said, boy.
Ooh, don't it though?
You can
But
tell, boy. We done changed some shit in these decades.
but I think, like I said, this society is awakening, and I think we're changing, and like, yeah, I think I said this last week. If we knew then what we knew now, we'd be some bad motherfuckers. But since we know now, our kids gonna be some bad motherfuckers. And I think it's equally, how do I want to put this? It's fun to have the kids, to have fun with them, man, and have the individual relationships and have the group thing, man. Every day, every day, every day, me and the kids fighting, play wrestling, play fighting, play boxing, every single day. We tickling, right? Or, what I'm saying? A couple months ago, I was just like, man, I know what I'm gonna do. And I was in Target, and I went and I grabbed cards from Target, bro. Came home. This is before we did the family game night episode. Um, Came home, was like, all right, kids, I'm about to teach y'all how to play blackjack. And we played blackjack, bro. I was just like, it's and like, low key, it's also a good way to do math. And then
Yeah.
what was funny is that you mentioned that it's a good way to do math on the game night episode. I'm like, that's my dog. I didn't even get to say that. I'm like, this is my brother, right? But it's fun to do that, man. It's fun to get, turn on the Xbox, turn on the Switch, play with the kids, man. Do whatever. Go
Play
outside.
Fortnite and some Mo with them jokers. I mean, you play it
Man,
all.
man, we do the Smash Brothers and the Mario Party around my parts. You know what I'm saying? Mario Kart. It's all good though. But like, it's fun.
Classics.
It's so fun to have those moments with the family. But then it's also like, it's fun to watch them grow and watch them mature. Like, bro, like my 8-year-old, I know I keep saying it. When I tell you homie is a miniature me, he be saying some stuff and I be like, all right, bro.
Like, you got it.
And then, I mean, it's being a father is an absolute rewarding challenge.
Oh yeah.
No
Hey.
regrets, no takebacks. Go ahead.
I agree with you 100%, but I also want to say, where you said being a father is a reward and challenge. It really is, but I would say we're overlooked. Um, Sometimes I would say we are. This could get into another episode, but I mean we are. I really don't know how to say it, but it's more so we're underappreciated. I want to say, because we're expected for so much and to do so much that if we fall short, or if we're not doing, or if we have a moment of displacement, sometimes that could be cruel. I mean, from kids to parents to the whole nine. I mean, and then almost, I wanted to say it earlier when you was talking about your dad, but like I felt like if you'd have knew him in his healthy state, I don't think he'd be much as a pushover. But I
Yeah.
feel like because of what they expected from him, because of what he used to deliver and what he used to do,
Mm-hmm.
and because he wasn't giving and doing no more at that level, they treated him at a certain level because he couldn't produce at a certain level.
Most deaf.
And that, you know what I'm saying, I think sometimes it's unfair, and it really hurts, the father that is trying to get back to that level, because it's not as easy as you think. For a man to make, and I'm not gonna say nothing big, but if a man is making $40,000 these days and they go to nothing, it's hard to get back there, especially if you don't have the credentials to prove you're worth that to get back there. If you fought for every dollar that you've made to get to where you were at, and then to one day lose it, not only to lose it, but then to have the same people that were dependent on you to look at you and treat you in a manner as if you were beneath them when they once depended on you, is even harder. And then to get back to that level, and the first thing people want to say is, well, McDonald's hiring.
Hmm.
I just made $40,000. You want to tell me what's goddamn McDonald's? I mean, I'm just,
Mm-hmm.
and 40,000 is not a lot of money, but it's an okay living. You can get by. You know what I'm saying? It'll patch holes and keep, you know what I'm saying, families in cool situations. But nobody understand how hard it is to get to something that small. To make $40,000, $50,000 a year ain't just that simple.
Right.
But because it's expected, it makes it tougher being the parent or the father, you know what I'm saying, and enjoying, you know what I'm saying, fatherhood. So sometimes you have to look at things like, for me, one of my biggest things is I love to watch my kids play outside. To watch my kids smile, run, skip like there's not a care in the world, basically balance out my whole world. To make me keep pushing and fighting, because to know that I'm doing at least enough to keep them happy and content, whether I feel like I need to do more or not. To know that they can't feel, you know what I'm saying, effects from the little ripples and obstacles that may come in our way. That's the best part.
It's dope. It's dope.
I just had to add that little piece because I do feel like that's rough for fathers, but I know that could be another episode.
Yeah. It's rough for fathers. It's rough for mothers, man. It's rough out here in general, man. But and I think that, you know, being a father is not a responsibility that can be taken lightly. You know, your kids need you. Your kids need you to guide them. Kids need you to be around. They need you to be there. They need you to be present. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man. I think, you know, if you listening to this podcast and you on your way to being a father, or you thinking about being a father, don't take that responsibility lightly. And if you are, you know, you are a father, you know exactly what we talk about and everything that we just been saying over the last hour and a half, however long we've been recording. I say we wrap it here, bro. You know, I think we wrap it here, or we talk for another hour and a half.
No one want to hear us talk that long.
At least not in one episode. So appreciate everybody rocking with us. Love is a verb. If you like what we do, you know, follow us, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Follow us on all the socials. The show is What's Happening. Fred is Mr.humble_beginnings. I know his better than he do. I'm Archbishop Swag. Don't ask me. It's been my social media name for 11 years. Join in on the conversation. Use the hashtag What's Happening. Tweet at us directly. Right on our Facebook wall. Whatever it takes, right? And share the show out. You know, somebody that you think would love this or any episodes that we got in the archive. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Don't take the responsibility of fatherhood lightly, but also enjoy the time that you have with your fathers and being a father. That's who you are. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. We'll see y'all next week.
Big up to all my active fathers. Peace.